Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Clara CFO Group channel. Today we are going to talk about payroll providers. And if you are kind of in the market and you're thinking about maybe switching over to something new, I know a lot of people through PPP and through kind of the pandemic time either had really great experiences with their payroll providers, or maybe they had really bad experiences with their payroll providers. So I wanted to bring a video to you guys that would help you try to decide what are the things you need to be paying attention to if you are thinking about making a change. So we're going to go through 5 things today that you need to think about if you're preparing to change payroll providers, or even if you're starting the search and trying to figure out what you need to pay attention to and, timing and things like that. So if this is the kind of information that is helpful to you, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because this is what we talk about. We try to help you in your business finances, specifically for small businesses, because our challenges as small business owners are different than the huge companies of the world. We're not having the same troubles that Microsoft and Starbucks are. We're having very different struggles. So this is all about what you need to do to help your small business. So the first thing I want to bring up is that payroll services and service providers can vary widely. Very, very widely. What you might be paying one company would maybe get you a different level of service at another company. So one of the first things I want you to look at is, what are you paying for right now? What services are you using and utilizing from your whatever service you have? What are you utilizing? And then the next step from that is, what else do you need, or what do you not need? Because you might be paying for a service that's like way more than you need, or you might be in a situation where you're paying for stuff, but you could really use another level of service. So let's say you could also use hour tracking, or maybe you could use some HR support or things like that. Think about what related to payroll would make your life easier. And one of the things I like to think about with this too is, are you paying another consultant, or let's say your bookkeeper? Are you paying some other people to do things for you that might be able to have these service providers take on? The key thing there is something like filing your quarterly payroll taxes. If your bookkeeper or maybe your CPA is filing those tax reports for you, a lot of payroll providers are doing that now. It's all kind of automated in their system. So you could be paying your CPA a lot of money to do that for you, when really your payroll service could be doing that. So, those are the types of things that you want to think about. What do I have? And then what would be nice to have? I had a client a couple years ago that was on QuickBooks Payroll, but the state that they were in, one of the quarterly reports that needed to go to one of the state agencies had to be done manually through QuickBooks. And it was one of those things that, because everything else was taken care of by QuickBooks on payroll, except for this one report, it was constantly late, and then they incurred late fees, and it took time of the bookkeeper to go and do that. And so we were like, well, why not just move to a payroll provider that actually is lower cost and can do that automatically along with all the other quarterly payroll reports? So we moved to Gusto in that example, because this state was covered by Gusto, and Gusto could do all of the reporting for them. So, that was a great example of something that we moved and we had a better experience overall, and it saved time overall, So these things can happen. I like the win-win situations. So the second thing I want to bring up is, when is the right time to do this? So really consider the timing if you are considering moving over your payroll service. It is a big deal to change over your payroll provider. You've got to move all your employee records over. You've got to, think about getting set up for all the quarterly filings and payroll taxes and any of the other services you might be utilizing. So it's an undertaking. And so you want to make sure that you're planning for it, and that you have the internal bandwidth to take care of it, or that you're on the schedule of the payroll provider if they are helping with any kind of migration. All right. I oftentimes try to recommend people to do this at the end of the year. That's part of the reason for the timing of this video. It gives you a little bit of time to do research and maybe go out and find a provider that you can get on board by the beginning of next year. So if we can do it towards the end of the year and the beginning of a new year, that's really the best time to make a payroll switch. And part of the reason for that is that you would have a nice clean break between, your annual reporting, your 940, your W-2s for your employees, things like that, So that is my recommendation if at all possible. Sometimes you need to make a change and there's not a clean cutoff. So I'd highly recommend talking to the payroll company and saying, hey, what do you guys recommend? What is the cleanest best practice going forward for that? And just make a plan, okay? This is not something that you can just do at the drop of a hat and have it all be super seamless. So make sure that you are planning for a migration if you are going to be making a switch. My third recommendation, if you're thinking about changing payroll providers, is looking at whether or not the services of the new company can scale with your business needs. So if you are in a situation that you are planning for major growth, you're onboarding a lot of employees, you're looking to add benefits, you're looking to maybe start hour tracking in a different way, really look at the providers and think about, will this provider be able to scale up with me? Because some payroll providers are really, set on a certain size of company, and maybe after a certain period of time, they stop being cost effective, or maybe they are not providing all the services that you might need. So, maybe start to think, what will my business look like in 1 or 2 years if that is much, much bigger, or if I'm anticipating some additional costs or some additional benefits I want to add. Go ahead and start asking those questions now, because you don't want to be making another huge payroll shift in a year or two because the company you picked is actually not a company that can grow with you. Okay. Now I'd say that most small business focused payroll providers can grow, but it's really kind of more, what are those additional services you think you might need, and see if they have some solutions for those. The fourth thing to consider, which is maybe not necessarily fourth in line, but it's price. You really need to look at price. And I highly recommend everybody do price comparison and price shopping, because there's a very wide range of what you can get for exactly the same service. So the big thing here is that you're really comparing apples to apples, because the bottom tier of one provider might be providing a lot more than the bottom tier of maybe a more scaled back provider. So, you might not be looking, let's just say if you're looking at QuickBooks Online payroll versus ADP, you're not going to be getting apples to apples if you're looking at their lowest tier. You know what I mean? So you really want to think about really what is included in those bulleted point lists when you're looking at their pricing pages. Is it really the same thing? And then if you can get on the call with a salesperson, try to understand exactly what you're going to be getting at the end of the day, and what you're not getting. What is the difference between those pricing tiers? Look to see what you're not getting if you're at one of those lower pricing tiers, okay? Because that's going to help you really try to identify exactly what you're going to be paying for at the end of the day. There's nothing worse than thinking that you're getting a service and then finding out later that what you picked, you're not getting that benefit, okay? So if you thought you were getting onboarding services, and then once you start paying for it, you're like, hey, where's all my onboarding tools? And they said, oh, well, that's not part of the package you selected. Those are the kind of things that can really frustrate you and start to make you really unhappy with your service providers. So, doing research on the front end, really getting apples to apples comparisons on price is really important. And again, think too about what your pricing is now and what it'll be if you're anticipating, 100% growth in your employees over the next year. Is the pricing incrementally as it increases? What does that look like? Okay. Is that still affordable when you get to that level? Now, pricing for something like software, usually it's like incremental by head, especially around payroll providers. So, probably if you have 100% increase in your employees, then your revenue is probably going up as well, and absorbing an additional cost of your payroll software is not going to be a huge thing. One thing I want to mention about the pricing of payroll services is that you also want to understand exactly what your cost will be. Is it by payroll run? Are you getting charged per run? Or are you getting charged per month? Make sure you're really clear on that, because some providers do it by payroll run and some do it by month. Okay, so Gusto, for example, is by month, and I believe like the ADPs and the Paychecks of the world are by per payroll. All right, so that can really make a big difference when you look at the pricing, because you could think, oh, this is apples to apples, but then once you get into it, that it's actually per payroll, then maybe like a monthly fee would be much more cost effective. All right, also understand, like if you need to run an off payroll cycle, or maybe you want to do a bonus payroll cycle, is that going to be charged additional? Is that an extra charge? Ask those questions. Try to understand exactly what your bill is going to look like. And that'll be helpful when you go to budget for the next year. Last thing I want you guys to think about is how important is customer service to you? Because this could be the difference between maybe deciding to pay a little bit more or doing a little bit more research, talking to more people who have actually used the service, versus just going with, whatever is the lowest price or whatever has, kind of the minimum of what you need. So customer service can be a huge, customer satisfaction component at the end of the day. So payroll is inherently complex. Payroll is complex, okay? The likelihood that you're going to need to engage somebody along the way when it comes to customer support in payroll is very high. So I want you to just keep that in mind. What does it look like if you have a problem? Do you have an account manager? Or do you have just a general help email that you're supposed to call? Do you have a phone number that you are, able to call? Is the support locally in the US, or is the support overseas? Go ahead and try to do this research, and then also ask other people who are using the provider what their experience is. Was it easy to get a hold of customer service? Was it, were they actually helpful? Did they get it there and do stuff for you? Or they just gonna point you to a help page and say, this is how you do it, all of those things are really, really important. And think about, the competency of your team and how much experience they have with payroll. Are they going to need more customer support if something comes up? Or are they very, very capable? They've run payroll a gazillion times and they have lots of experience and they know how to fix pretty much everything. That might be a big difference between like which level of support you need, or, really what service provider you go with at the end of the day. All right. And that might be, customer service might be your number one thing that you make a decision on. Okay. So just think about that kind of thing. All right. Well, I hope those things kind of like bring stuff to mind as you're thinking about what to do for your payroll. When it comes to deciding whether to stay with whatever it is you're doing right now, or if you need to go ahead and make that leap. We want to make confident decisions in, huge things like payroll. Payroll can be one of the biggest expenses for most companies, especially if you're in the service industry. So we do want to make sure that, things are going smoothly there, that you're not overpaying, but you're also getting the right level of service for really what you need. There are a lot of great companies out there to work with, and we've got some resources in the description box below if you want to check those out. But feel free to comment below if you have any questions. If anybody wants to know, like, hey, does anybody use blah, 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 what service, have it be a conversation in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your experiences. Who have you loved? Who has been maybe not the best? Let's let this be a resource and a place that we can ask those questions. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye.